plans to, this weekend, when I had plenty of time, record a nice happy little video about optimism and positive thinking. I was going to wait until I had time to do my makeup and get ready and fix my lighting in my room. But no, Governor DeSantis has seen to that. So supposedly this is an anti-rioting bill. Critics of this bill say that it's an anti-protesting bill. I don't think it's either. I think it is a police sovereignty bill, very clearly. So I read and skimmed all 61 pages of the actual document. This is not from whatever news source is talking about this right now. And I'll go over some of the highlights with you guys. So buckle in. It's terrible. Terrible. This bill was signed into law, by the way. I'm not fear-mongering about something that might not even pass. This was signed into law in 2021. So this bill covers a wide variety of different terrible, terrible things. The first thing, and I think it's probably the worst thing, is that now local governments have to get state approval to defund their police. I just do not understand. I do not understand. One of the few things that I agreed with the Republicans on is that in most cases, local government should be the one doing everything. The federal and even state governments really don't need to step in unless it's to ensure people's rights. As far as everyday running of their cities, local governments need to be doing that. DeSantis threw that shit out the window. Who gives a fuck about small government? Not DeSantis. And by the way, they're not beating around the bush about this either. DeSantis was very clear that he just wants to prevent them from being able to defund the police. Now, I would like to say, defund sounds really scary. Defunding sounds like they're going to take all of the money away. Oh no, no more police department. In reality, defunding means any subtraction of the budget. So this is what DeSantis said about this. If a local government were to defund the police, that would be catastrophic and have terrible consequences for their citizens. We'll be able to stop it at the state level. If there is anything that definitely should be local, that definitely varies way too wildly from county to county for it to be state or federally run, it's the budget. There are plenty of things that I think that should be done at the state level or at the federal level. The budget is not one of them. That should obviously be localized. What if they have to reallocate funds to something more pressing? Now they're not allowed to. Now, big state can say, nah, sorry. The second thing that this bill did is also bad. So, in the case of a riot, the police are doing their thing. If the local government ever says, hey police, don't do that, all of a sudden, the local government is now completely liable for any damages. This is to ensure that the local government can't decide what the police officers do and what they don't do. Why would we want that? Why would we want the police officers to have even more power than they already have? Why wouldn't we want our elected officials to be able to decide if the police officers are allowed to do something or not? This is basically just a blank check to police departments all over Florida. Now, the third thing that this bill did is kind of an umbrella grouping here. It basically just increased the punishment of like all normal crimes during a riot. Now, before I go into details about this, I want to talk about felonies. Even before this bill, I thought that the government handing out felonies like candy was bad. Tacking on the label felony to somebody's charges is just a way to infringe upon their rights. All of a sudden, they can't vote. They can't own guns. They can't get a job at most places. I could kill my entire family and get a felony, or I could have half an ounce of a plant in my possession. Those should not be the same thing. Those should not be anywhere close to the same thing. Felons shouldn't have their rights stripped away anyway, in most cases. And now we're just like broadening the number of people that we're allowed to take rights away from for no reason. When does it stop? When does the argument of, well, you shouldn't have been breaking the law, cross a line? At some point, you have to say, this is unreasonable. This is an unreasonably harsh punishment for this. People should not have all of these rights stripped away and have to spend months or years in prison for this petty crime. And if you think they should, you are part of the problem. The United States has 25% of the world's prison population. 25% of the world's prison population. We have more prisoners than any other country in the world. We have more prisoners per capita than any other country in the world. Pick the most totalitarian country you can think of right now. America has more prisoners than they do. And what did DeSantis do? He decided to add to that problem, to just sprinkle on a few extra felonies for random shit. Now, not all of these are that unreasonable, but some of them are just ridiculous. Here's a ridiculous one. Any person who, without the consent of the owner, willfully and maliciously defaces, injures, or otherwise damages by any means a memorial or historic property, and the value of the damage is greater than $200, commits a felony of the third degree. Doing more than $200 of damage to a historical property is now a third degree felony. For the rest of your life, you cannot vote, you cannot get a job at most companies, and you cannot own a gun. Doesn't the right care about your right to own a gun? Wasn't that a big deal? Battery of a police officer is also a felony and has a minimum jail time of 6 months. Now you may be thinking, well, yeah, we gotta protect our police officers. That's very important. Do you know what the definition of battery is? According to this bill, the offense of battery occurs when a person actually and intentionally touches or strikes another person against the will of the other, or intentionally causes bodily harm to another person. So if I throw a water bottle at a police officer, I can get a felony. A felony. Battery already had a charge. Why are we just upping the charges of things that don't have to do with riots? If the burglary is committed during a riot or an aggravated riot, prohibited under, it is a felony of the first degree. It is unlawful for a person to electronically publish another person's personal identification information with the intent to use the information to incite violence or commit a crime against the person or threaten or harass the person. It is a misdemeanor of the first degree. A person commits a riot if he or she willfully participates in a violent public disturbance involving an assembly of 3 or more persons, resulting in injury to another person, damage to property, or imminent danger of injury to another person or damage to property. What the fuck is imminent danger of damage to property? Like, if I'm shouting and I'm standing near a window, is the window in danger? Could a cop arrest me and be like, well, it sure did seem like you might break a window. You were mad. Felon. This section does not prohibit constitutionally protected activities such as a peaceful protest. Oh gee, thanks for not removing my constitutional rights. Unlawful assemblies. If 3 or more persons meet together to commit a breach of the peace or to do any other unlawful act, each of them commits a misdemeanor of the second degree. What the fuck is a breach of the peace? This has such strong Umbridge vibes. Oh my goodness. This bill was criticized for being vague, and I definitely agree with that. It reminds me a lot of Nashville's anti-camping bill that they came out with like last year or the year before, where no camping is allowed on government property. And then like one definition of camping is preparing food for later use. So if I've got a to-go box and I'm walking around on government property, technically I am camping and I am a felon. There's like no protections for regular citizens, free reign for the Department of Justice to hand out felonies, free reign for the police department to do whatever they want during a riot, which we've seen isn't always great.
We're out here to for her. You don't listen to us, so we have to make a scene. That's why! That's why! That's why! That's why! Oh.
A lot of the people who tend to be very pro-police are also the people who say that we need guns in case we have to overthrow the government. What do you think police are? The only thing more dangerous than an elected government with too much power is an unelected government with too much power. And that's what police are. Why are you okay with this? And how come we don't have any protections for protesters? How come there's no laws coming out there like, hey, police officers, sorry about this, but you actually can't spit on protesters. No, you shouldn't be doing that.
Did you see someone spitting on the other police? Look, are you watching the cops fucking spitting on this person?
We have all these laws coming out that are like, that make it a bigger offense to injure a police officer. How come they're not coming out with more protections for our First Amendment rights? We do need more protections for protesters. Now, if you're all aboard the protesting train for Black Lives Matter, but not for anti-maskers, you are not for protesting rights. You're not. I think that protesting masks or lockdowns is stupid and silly, and I may make fun of you for it. But you better be damn sure if anybody tries to take that right away from you, I'm gonna have a problem with that. We need to be able to protest. This bill talked a lot about like restricting roads, not letting cars pass. I don't really give a damn. You don't have a constitutional right to drive a car. You do have a constitutional right to protest. Why are we trying to make it so difficult for protesters? Why is it legal to shoot tear gas at protesters and rubber bullets? Why aren't there more laws regarding when you're allowed to arrest protesters? Why are all the laws anti-rioting and none of the laws are pro-protesting? The government's job is supposed to be to ensure that nobody infringes on our rights. So why don't we have any protesting protections? Honestly, I heard America described as a police state before, and they're not far off. We spend the most money in the world on the military. We spend more than the next 12 countries combined on the military. We have the highest number of prisoners in the world. We have the highest number of police deaths per year in the first world. And how does the government react when we are protesting cops killing people and having nothing done to them? How does the government react? It cracks down on rioters. Now, I'm not trying to just endlessly shit on America. I care about America. Why do I care about America?
Because I'm one of the idiots who lives in it.
Because there are people in America. There are people that deserve happy, healthy lives, and they deserve to have their rights protected. I want America to succeed. But this is a very dark direction for us to go in. And honestly, it really seems like the two parties both want to strip us of our rights. The Democrats want to pass all these social media censorship laws, and they want to take guns away. The Republicans want to give police officers endless power and take our right to protest away. And instead of us joining together and being like, wow, everyone in power wants to take all of our rights away, we shouldn't stand for that. Instead of doing that, we just yell insults at each other about how the other group is really the racist. And when you start like ranting about government control and how the government has too much power over its citizens, and when you start talking about like things like fascism and authoritarianism and how we're on the brink of that, people will look at you like you're crazy. But you know what? It happens everywhere else. Why would America be special? Because we have a high GDP? After all this ranting, I feel like this was kind of a dark video. I normally try to end on a positive note. I really don't have much of a positive note for this. My next video is going to be a lot more lighthearted. I just really wanted to get this out here. I don't see a whole lot of people talking about it. And this really is one of the most important issues that we have. We need to keep our government in check. We need to keep the police in check. We need to keep our rights preserved. That goes for both sides. That goes for wherever you're at on the political spectrum. So as always, If you disagree, comment below. You can follow me on Twitter if you'd like to hear more of my rants. Please like and subscribe if you want to. And I will see you back with a very different video coming up. Hoping to balance this one out.